Um, hey, good afternoon, everybody. Look like everybody going away now. Doesn't like hearing. Anyway, not the time. Just wanted to make it shorter. I think before we has been going along gathering food and camping on the country where a lot of food was. Our people in Rumatbai or across from there to there, even they reached right to Gulkula. Our people were gathering food and living some area where a lot of fish was. That was where our journey. Some of them, the head of people who came to make a reconciliation with these people, like Macassan people, and they were working along this coast. While we were still struggling and wondering and how to manage our country, we were still wondering. But today, we know where the country is now. It's been there for 100,000 years ago. The pattern, design, stories beyond, it has been laid from our ancestral being to our grandfather, now to our father, to us. There's two minority people are here in Australia, in Arnhem land. One of the struggles that we were trying to do, we wanted to move back to our tribal land. And that was where, in 1972, our old people decided. Some of our missionaries took us to homeland. We were wandering right around through Djambawa to Grudal to Gulkula. Now, we walk back to our own tribal land, which is we want to make a place, sustainability place where we can live and grow the country and build up the economy. And yes, we did. Some of the homelands are there. Some of the homelands are there, which is they are building their own homeland, which is and also population, which is they want to live in that country. Other mob, we do want to find a way. What can we do in our own rights to build our community or in our homelands? One of the things that we thought about it, we want to get a corporation. We thought only a few people can talk on that corporation. We thought about association, which is some people can talk for their rights, to give their opinions, to make it reality. Last couple of months now, we decided to make panels, which is a foundation for our homelands. When I'm talking about homeland, one of the homeland is starting to get up and walk along, but I am also counting all those other homeland too, has been living and left behind, because no one want to care for them. Today, some of the homelands are starting to get up and walk. They are learning something. They are learning something that they want to build their economy in their own rights, in their own country. Get this message or just wipe it up? Or whether the wind will blow up and throw it away. I think it is really important for us to know that there is a people are living, want to develop their own homeland to make our own future for themselves, for their own living families. Today, we should do something about those homeland and see how to manage them, how to support them. We developed at Blumat Bay that we have laid a foundation for our future, and that was Jalkripingo a foundation, which is some of our people can be involved and wanted to get into those for their opportunity, for their own future. And while we're doing that, we had another corporation called Garangali, which is the business are still running now very well. Running, that is a shop. The other one is Nimbarki Corporation, which is wanted to make a sustainability, to strengthen the country and work with someone who can understand and learn from us and work along with it. And this other one, it's just to build a future economy for our people to get together and make it a reality in homeland. One of the things that we decided we want to work with CSIRO. Sorry, he will tell you. Yeah, and that is one of the things that it is just a beginning. We are just putting it, laying it up, and I think it's going to be really a future for us, and I think a lot of people in homeland will be joining and working with us. I think that is one of the future for us. Remember us that we do want to go along with it and making it reality what you two have shared with us. Thank you for that, but it is one of our things that we want to go along with it. I am one of the artists which is, I don't know how to build carpentry or whatever, mechanic or whatever, but I'm an artist that I can, get information from our own country. It was given from our ancestral being to put it up into the hair. And I am an archaeologist and an anthropologist, which is I can do the heart and make it reality onto a country where the pattern was laid from our ancestral being to give it to us. With that panel and system, I think it is really important for us to tell the people who don't know about it. And one of the things that I'll be really joining with the Djambawa, if you do this, yes, we will work along with it. As anthropology, that is one of the things that I wanted to work with you. And you've been there for 2 years with us. He know and I know, we know, everybody will work along with it. And this is not only that Banyala people, but also the other homeland will be joining too for their country and their stories beyond. Thank you. I'll make it short.
Thank you very much, Wawa. It's always wonderful to hear the journey he takes us on. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Gumach, Mayapapulu clan, and our host, Dr. Galore Yunapingu, and also acknowledge my Ngapabi, Dion Munungo, who's doing a fantastic job of looking after the CSIRO people who are here, and there's a significant contingent here. Also the traditional owners on the lands in which CSIRO works, which is extensive, and I'll talk about that a bit more later. And he's left now, but Professor Mick Dodson's actually the chair of our Indigenous Advisory Committee, so it's wonderful to have him there. And acknowledge some CSIRO colleagues, Kathy Robinson, James Holman, also from the Banyala Corporation, who's been crucial to the work, the partnership that Djambawa and I are talking about today. For those who don't know, and we do have some international guests here, the CSIRO is Australia's national science agency, and the name is not that easy to handle. It's got 5,000 people in it, which is unusually large for the size of Australia, but it spans a whole lot of range of expertise: land, water, oceans, agriculture, fisheries, health and biosecurity, manufacturing, minerals, energy, digital, and I could go on. The primary purpose of the organisation is to generate innovation that benefits the nation. The most famous of those is Wi-Fi. CSIRO is responsible for the underlying technology behind Wi-Fi, but there are others. And increasingly, we are engaging with Indigenous Australia across a whole range of fronts. That's on a corporate level through Louisa Warren's team and our reconciliation action planning processes to help Indigenous employees and Indigenous procurement within CSIRO. It's a scientific exercise to build Indigenous scientific futures for our organisation, and the work of Leah Talbot and Cass Hunt has been crucial there. It's also looking and drawing on an established stream of Indigenous-led and co-design work that's been driven by people who've been working for the organisation for sometimes 10 years and more. And that series of roles is increasing as we go forward, and it's an exciting time to be in the organisation. CSIRO shapes itself sometimes as a trusted advisor. From my perspective, that trust is earned and ongoing, it's not assumed, and that's a very important part of the conversations we have with Aboriginal Australia, Indigenous Australia I should say. From my particular position within Land and Water and partnering with my brother here, there are some things going on that are important to recognise, and we have in a sense been talking about those at this conference. From our position, in Northern Australia, depending on how you calculate it, 40% of the country now has significant property interests owned by Indigenous people, or they own the land in its entirety. That's a really significant change in the way that Australia is owned over the last few decades. They're also increasingly expanding regional and remote populations, and those people want to live where they live. We hear that very clearly and consistently in all that's said. The National Science Agency effectively has a role in that process. It has a role in understanding what future economic potentials exist with a new set of landowners, or a new old set of landowners, I should say. In many cases, country is being returned to people in a different condition, very different condition from the way it was before. And there are a whole sort of questions about opportunity, innovation, and the compatibility of different industries that are very, very important to think through in the future. CSIRO is not a business advisor. We're not going to tell people to go and buy shares in company X. Our responsibility in this domain is to help people think through what their options are and provide as independent and effective advice as we can from a scientific perspective to assist that process. I'm working currently on a series of projects that speak to that. So is a wider team of people within CSIRO, some of whom are here now. In particular, we have a project supported by the Prime Minister and Cabinet that is effectively got two particular parts to it: scientific and Indigenous knowledge being brought together to think through business options, and then a prospectus development process and a how-to guide process. What lessons can we learn from that process for elsewhere? Blue Mud Bay is another place where we are starting to work, as my brother talked about. In my personal case, that's off a long history of engagement, but this is a particularly exciting moment. We're on the 10th anniversary since the Blue Mud Bay people won their sea rights back, and that claim, which I was involved in and a whole team of people were involved in, I noticed Ron Levy was around, but he's gone too, always had two bases. It was always partly about getting rights and recognitions, but it was also about the economic futures that people desired for their territory. It was about recognising the value of the resources and that they did not have control over those, that other people were coming in and taking them without benefit flowing back to Indigenous communities. So this process has been going on for a long time. Most recently, it's fair to say, there's been a little bit of frustration that sea rights hasn't led directly to economic outcomes straight away, but the corporations, as Djambawa talked about, they're establishing things, they're building structures to try to create those possibilities, and this project is part of that. the Baniala Corporation has developed a strategic plan. It's talking to various parties about tourist infrastructure, but in particular, it's engaging in a process of assessing what resources are available on that country and how they can best be developed. In effect, that's where the CSIRO comes in. Taking some purely examples that we haven't talked through yet, what are the compatibilities between establishing an agricultural precinct and a tourist facility on land? What are the compatibilities or incompatibilities between having this extraordinary physical environment but also seeking aquacultural or fish farm development, for example? How do those different kinds of economic activities work together? And the forestry example has been fantastic. It's actually a hard act to follow, I must say, but it's an example of the kinds of decisions that people will want to be making about their economic futures. And there is science that can support that can come together with the knowledge that people have of their own country and help them make better decisions about which pathways to follow. My brother has a fantastic analogy of a tree which has its roots in the ground, in the country, in the resources and its people, but in order to grow, it needs to build a trunk. And that trunk is the knowledge and understanding that can lead to the branches of economic pathways and the leaves and the fruit of particular kinds of businesses. Indigenous Australians are very, very sophisticated in their thinking about country, about their responsibilities. I've had the luxury of being able to engage with people over a wide area, and they're taking the futures very, very seriously, and the timeframes involved. When you are a company that never ever wants to leave, the choices that you make are very, very significant. We don't generally think about Indigenous people as companies, but most companies are proud if they have a 10 or a 20-year time frame, a 50-year time frame. If you have a 500-year time frame or a 1,000-year time frame, some of the decisions are very, very different. So I'll finish by, unless you want the last word after this, I'll finish by noting that the particular project that we're working on in Blue Mud Bay runs until 2021, that it's aligned with the process that Developing East Arnhem Land is undertaking, and that we are all seeking partners, supporters, fellow travellers, investors, and critical friends in this process of trying to work out what the best way is, what the best pathways are for the future of this region and how that contributes to the nation as a whole. So thank you very much.